for our community at large, because we also talk a little bit about the beautiful resources available at the Living Well Network. And so that's what this is all about today. So today we're going to be talking about destigmatizing mental health.
That's right. I picked destigmatizing mental health because May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think that we still can make a lot of progress on stigma of mental health. And so I wrote it to think about ways to destigmatize mental health and how to encourage people to reach out for help when they need it.
And how to help us to help someone reach out for help, right? Because sometimes, especially in certain communities, right, in the African American community, there is a stigma around mental health and going to get help should you need it. How can we, because we've cracked a lot of barriers there, but there's still more work to do.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the things that you had in your blog, what you wrote. Let's talk about some of those things, how we can, someone may be listening or watching, and they know their family really does have, you know, a stigma about, no, we're going to pray about it, and, you know, we're going to do this, that, or the other, and we're going to move forward.
Right.
Not saying that prayer isn't good.
Right,
because
it can be.
Because it can be, but, you know, there's also some other resources, right?
Definitely. I think, first of all, if talking to somebody about it, like saying, hey, I think, you know, just kind of broaching it in a very like personal way. I think this could be a good idea for you to get counseling. A lot of times I think that sharing our own story, so like maybe you had gone to counseling or some sort of mental health treatment before, you can share your own story with that person, which may help destigmatize mental health for them as well. So I really think sharing your story can be really beneficial. And then also like how we talk about like mental health, like the verbiage that we use, because words can really matter.
Exactly.
You know, and it's a lot of times, you know, we think about like someone coming in, they're like, well, they're crazy, you know.
Right.
But really they may just be struggling, or if they have like a true diagnosis, a mental health diagnosis, you know, they may be living with that diagnosis, and we can maybe talk about it because words matter.
Because words do matter. When we are trying to communicate, especially when we ourselves, sometimes the stigma is inside of ourselves. We have the stigma. Family members may have said to us, I'm going to use my name, okay? Cathy, I think you might need to get some help. Especially in this, I'm going to call it a season, in this season of so much loss.
Right.
Loss of jobs, loss of loved ones. So people are grieving, and people deal with grief differently.
Definitely.
And grief is another, you know, like a mental health kind of thing that we have to keep ourselves healthy and whole even through grief. So since I am, you know what I'm saying, going through grief, I'm going to use myself, right? And so if someone was to say, well, Cathy, I think you need some help with working through the losses that you have encountered.
Yeah.
And then I have the stigma. So my loved one has told me, hey, you might need some help. How would I work through that?
Well, and maybe ask yourself, like, what's keeping me from talking to a professional? You know, like, is it a fear, or like someone giving you a diagnosis or calling you crazy or judging you? Yes, I would start there, is ask yourself, you know, why don't I want to get some help? And then, you know, maybe reaching out to someone like you trust, maybe like your doctor. Right? A lot of times we have built relationships with our primary care physicians, and so maybe kind of talking to them first would be a good way to also take a step to seeking counseling.
Exactly. Okay, so now once I've decided, okay, it's a me thing. The inner me is the enemy in this arena, right? Let's just say it like that. Then how do I move forward in getting the help? Now, I know you said you talked to your doctor or someone like that, but for our employees at Memphis Shelby County Schools, how can they reach out to, because I know in Methodist now you don't even have to go into, you don't have to go into the office.
Right. So I would say if you are ready to seek maybe some counseling, especially if you're a Memphis Shelby County School employee, you can give Methodist EAP a call and set up that appointment. And you can come and see us in person or also virtually, whatever you're most comfortable with. Because sometimes people are more comfortable being in their home, and also sometimes it may be easier to not have to commute to an appointment. So they would call 901-683-5658 and set up an appointment that way.
Okay. And so when we're talking about going into the summertime, so I think May kind of gets us ready for going into the summertime. It's going to be a lot going on.
Right.
Kids are out of school, vacation or staycation.
Yep.
Or nocation.
Summer school.
Right, summer schools, all summer programs, basketball, football, whatever those things are. What are some of the things we can do to kind of help us to maybe center ourselves and help our students, our children, center themselves?
Good question. I think summer is a really good time of reflection, right? Because sometimes it does slow down, or sometimes, there are pauses, or sometimes there's not any pauses and you continue to work. But kind of figuring out, what are some maybe previous coping skills that have worked for you in the past, and re-implementing them now into what your life looks like. Achieving, work-life balance sometimes can be very difficult, and sometimes, we're working more or doing home more. It kind of just depends on the season. And so kind of thinking about what's going to be best for you, thinking about maybe making it more of a routine to doing your different coping skills, whatever maybe that self-care may look like, So starting a routine, I would think also maybe like getting outside, being in nature is a good thing. Going on vacation if possible, leaving Memphis for a minute. I think that would be good.
Okay, and just chilling. When all of that works together though, right, to help us with our mental health. Because sometimes the stigma is that, the crazy talk and everything, but it's also that it's so rigid. We don't realize that there are a lot of things that play into a lot of elements and components that help us develop a healthy mental health. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, definitely.
And some of those are going outside, being in nature, maybe being to yourself when you need to be.
Definitely.
Being with those you love when you need to be. Your self-care, which sometimes has to be more than just going to get your hair done and your nails done, right?
Definitely. Maybe it is time by yourself to decompress. Maybe it is leaning more into your faith, because that's important to a lot of people as well.
Exactly. And when we're talking about those people, so we know that our Memphis Shelby County Schools employees has this resource. They have EAP absolutely free. They can call, like you said, can call the number, can talk to someone, and all of that. But what about our community members out there that may not be employed with Memphis Shelby County Schools? How would they reach out to the Living Well? Because the Living Well Network, right, has resources to help you, to lead you or guide you to whatever assistance you may need. Am I saying that correctly?
You are, yes. The Living Well Network is a kind of a referral-based system. So once you call, they're not providing us a counseling service, but they are connecting our community members to other community counseling services. So it's just like a kind of a connection. So they can also call us or go to our website, the Living Well Network. If they Google that, it'll probably come up. And that's a free service as well. So it's a bit of a conversation to get started, but then they'll ask you, where do you live? What is your insurance? And then they'll kind of connect you with a counselor. that would be close to you.
All right, all right. So as we wrap up May, Mental Health Awareness Month, what are some gems or jewels that you would say to our viewers and listeners to help them, even when it's not a heavy mental health conversation, but we're around friends and we're laughing and joking. Oh, you're so crazy. You know what I'm saying? What are some gems that you would give them? Just little gems that they could probably pull on all the way from now until, so that they can make the conversation around mental health a little bit more favorable and better in their circles.
I would say if they're kind of joking around saying what you just said, say, hey, you know, it sounds like maybe you really are actually stressed. I know you're kind of joking about it, but as a friend, I'm worried and concerned for you. You know, can maybe I help you look for a counselor if you're open to that? Or do you want to talk more? I'm here for you, right? Sometimes it's not professional formal counseling. Sometimes we just need a listening ear.
Right.
Or who is someone that you can, who is someone you trust that you could talk to, right? Maybe a pastor or somebody, trusted family member. And then help them get connected, because sometimes we need that. Maybe if they need like, you know, to be held accountable, like, hey, tell me when your appointment is. And just encourage them, because it's hard to be vulnerable. But if you're talking to a professional, hopefully they're coming from a very non-judgmental place and can listen to you.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, as we begin to wrap up, are there, you know, on radio, I would say, hey, do you have any shouts out? Okay. So we're still on radio, but are there any, you know, team members or anyone that you would like to take this moment to just thank or you know, shout them out or whatever?
I'm just going to shout out to all of our teachers, because they do such a great job, and they have a hard job, and I hope they all enjoy their summer break.
Yes, yes, our teachers are dynamic. So thank you so very much. Well, thank you for tuning in and sharing with us. Thank you for sharing your time and your energy. And this is WQOX 88.5 FM and, of course, C19 TV. And you've been listening to the Methodist Lebanon EAP monthly broadcast segment with Cathy Hart and Alice White. So, see, that was easy breezy.
It was.